is I, the Roguescaper. Sorry for keeping you all waiting. We had some technical difficulties, but I think we are good to go. Fortunately, those technical difficulties included no face cam, as my computer decided to update right before we started streaming, and I didn't have time to get that all set up. But regardless, my face isn't the star of the show today. Today we are painting Wing Commander Tuck Harrigan, this awesome little squirrel in the skies, part of the new release coming out in April. He is just a great figure to have, and honestly, I am just happy to get some paint on him. I mean, he's so little. Like, look at look at him comparatively to like one of the bears. He's just so small. I love it. He's just a little guy that can come in and really wreck up your opponent's army if you play him right. So he has some interesting colors. We're going to definitely be working on balancing the browns and the greens and the tans, all these kind of colors in unison to make them come together. And we are just going to get started. If you notice, I did use a zenithal priming on him with a black primer as well as ink on the top coat, just to really have him show up better in camera and to simulate natural lighting. So yeah, I always recommend for stuff like this with lots of little details, I'm going to start off with this zenithal primer, or especially if you are planning on using speed paint and stuff like that. Acrylics is kind of my medium of choice, so we're going to be working on that. But speed paints of these boards, I think, would respond really well to them if you're just looking to get this guy done. And starting off, we are going to get a nice, just deep green. We're going to use some dark yellow green from Pro Acryl. This is one of my favorite paints to use, as it's just, this color specifically, as it's just really kind of rich and applies to lots of things. I mixed a bit of water in this, and we are going to apply this to the pant area. He's so small, I have to let me know if I go out of the focus ring, because the camera he's just so little. It doesn't want to focus on him fully. So let me know if I get out of bounds, and I will bring him back in. We're keeping our paints thin to have this natural highlight used with the zenithal really show through. Do this. The good thing about small models is they don't take a long time to finish up. Usually on these mini Mondays, I run out of time, but I have a strong feeling we'll be able to get a good base coat and some further steps on this guy for sure. When you're working with smaller models, you definitely want to use a brush with a good sized tip, as you're just working with less surface area. I think the hardest part about this model is going to be balancing all the kind of brown tones together. When you have lots of different browns, it helps to kind of change either the brightness of the brown or the overall. Let me move my water cup just a bit closer. My gymnastic park water cup right here. Have it either be a bit brighter or use a different kind of color mixed in. Like you can use a more bluish brown or orange brown together and really kind of separate those tones. And let's see here, we're going to get dark golden brown from Pro Acryl. And again, this is just the paint. Paint of the brand I choose. Of course, you can use Army Painter or Citadel or whatever brand you prefer. It's more just pay attention to the colors. And let me get that balance real fast here. Hello, can you hear me a bit better now? Is that a bit more balanced? I have a new setup here, and I'm still getting all the kinks worked out. If you notice, it appears a bit more high quality, which I'm happy with. But with that, whenever you move a system, you always have to have to figure out all the little bugs. And we're using this golden brown to start filling it in thinly over the tail. Alright, and we are just applying this to the fur here. Hopefully my sound has sorted itself out. If not, feel free to let me know. I will spend a minute fiddling with that. Get it all back in order. Let's see if I can just amplify this just a bit. It does seem a bit quiet. Working on your Songland? Yeah, I finished that, and I had a lot of fun with it. It's a big old dragon. I think the other Renegade painter, Louis, painted that up on Mini Monday a couple weeks ago, and I'm really impressed with what they did with theirs as well. They did some fun kind of like saliva effects in the mouth, which I was really happy to see done. I painted mine more a bit orange because to me that's kind of how baby Vesla kind of appeared to me. It's just a bit more oranges. Although I do like the red, so I see why they went with that. Or just kind of a weird color. Alright, we're just getting stuff done right here. The face, you definitely want to make sure your paints are thin. You'd hate to cover up those little tiny features on it. Always going to paint the whole thing and fill in the eyes later. But yeah, I'm so happy that Songland exists. Just as a classic fan of this game, he's just you know, he's one of those most iconic units that you see. You're like, oh yeah, that's Heroscape. I haven't had a chance to fully deep dive into the scenario today, but I heard that they released it with some kind of custom kind of NPCs templates for Rusty Soulborgs, which I thought was really cool. If I might go through my old collection and find an old Deathwalker I have and kind of paint that up appropriately. Maybe do some hobby work on it to make it look like the card art. And he doesn't wear shoes. Alright, so I'm just going to paint all his feet like that right there. Your bears last night, you put pink dots on them, but I think I need to rethink that now. Oh, I saw that on the forums. I thought it looked really nice. I like the little contrast of the colors on that. But if you feel like you need to go back, you know, you can certainly do that as well. I thought they turned out really great. Yeah, I like those little details, the scenarios. I look forward to just seeing them pop up every month. They're the highlight. It caught me on a busy day, unfortunately, so I haven't had a chance to fully dive into it, but it's on my to-do list. And next up, let us add this dark brown. We're going to use probably umber with a dark umber. So I have that nearby. dark umber. Control Grill as well. If you're using Army Painter, I think oak brown with a little bit of black mixed in is a great add-on as well. And I'll kind of bring this onto the screen just to show kind of what I'm doing. Key to thinning paints is first off, don't get on the ferrule of your brush like I just did there. That's the easiest way to destroy your brush. If you notice paint kind of gets deep in, definitely make sure to wash that out and not let that sit there, because that's how you kill a brush. So what I'm doing is just taking a little bit of water to the side and just pressing the paint, spreading out so it's not as thick on my wet palette. A bit of water and then just kind of thinning it out and spreading it out. So when it comes through, notice it's slightly transparent. We want a bit of water. Notice when I put it on the palette, it kind of pulls back in on itself. That's how you know your paints are pretty well thinned and will appear kind of translucent on the model. If you kind of find your models are kind of looking kind of chalky or a bit too clumpy, it just means that you're not thinning your paints enough. And we're going to apply this to the bespoke knee pads. And what else is brown on this card here? I think we're just going to do this with the jacket and the wings and kind of figure it out from there. I think is the best bet. You want to watch out for these little corners here. I'm probably going to have to go back and repaint that, just because they have a tendency to kind of slope in. If you're following your brush, it may kind of splash into other areas. That's why you keep your paints thin, though, and that way if you do make a mess, you can kind of just fill it in with the paint you already have on your palette. The grim cute world of Vorid Hammer Jillian. Yeah, I like how we, in the same release, we have these little Vorid guys. You know, they're just little guys. And then you have like this massive alien bug queen that has other alien bugs burst out of people's chests. That is the dichotomy of Scape, and that's why I love this game. You know, you never really know what you're going to get. But in all honesty, based off the bios, I trust the giant space bugs more than I trust the Vorids. They seem to have a little bit of a darker underside to them. And we're starting with dark tones right now, so it doesn't look like there's a lot of separation. That's the big thing, is we're going to really work on that through the midtones and the highlights. I'm going to bust out the new inks today. I do have some on the table. I don't know if I'm going to do it today. Let's see, what do I have here nearby? I had some of this inks I got from a Kickstarter recently. I'm a bit curious. I'm still kind of learning them, honestly. I might do that a bit more off camera, just because I don't feel fully confident in how to use them yet. It's kind of a new medium, so I just want to not necessarily experiment too much today, but maybe I will at a later date, on my own side or elsewhere. But I imagine that they would do really well kind of on the texture and cloth of these models. Light change, there we go. Yeah, this guy's really easy to paint. But I will definitely be using the inks pretty soon, for sure. So I think this is starting to look kind of muddy just because I think this brown is, I think I need to add a more tan to this color according to the card art. Kind of like a bone tan is probably what I'm thinking here. But I still think this dark brown would be a good way to build it up. Let's see here, just looking at the card. That is brown as well. Some more on my palette. My live stream, I like to kind of take all the paints I think I might use, and then I just have them nearby me, because no one wants me to look for paints for 20 minutes. I got a lot of paints, and my organizational system is not the best. I will tell you that. I need to work on that, but I can have just a pile of potential colors I'm thinking of using. I'm kind of building it in my head as I go along. Jacket here as well. Now for the jetpack, I'm debating if I want to use a silver metallic paint or kind of build it up with grays. I might go with like gray to kind of give it that old retro look. I like these guys because you get to work a lot with like leather and cloth and fur. And those are all really fun materials to kind of build up and add a lot of tiny little details and kind of story points on those. Yeah, is Tuck Harrigan kind of the person with like really scratched up leather? Does he have, you know, a brand new suit every time he flies? Kind of figure that out and add a bit of texture and storytelling to it. What color is his belt? I think he has like almost like a gray brown for his belt. So let's get a bit of gray. I'm going to use some dark sea green, which is for some reason it's green from Vallejo, but it's kind of a very gray green, and mix that in with this dark umber just to kind of make an off desaturated kind of color for the belt. Kind of looks like that. About a 1-to-1 ratio. Your hand, I always use my hand as a testing palette to make sure I like the color and the thickness of the paint. You of course can have like a piece of paper nearby if you don't like marking your hand. Learning to mix paints is a great way to save on your paint supplies when you're painting. If you can learn to mix a couple different shades and colors together, you're really going to not have to buy as many individual shades. For the most part, I just like collecting paint, so I always just pick up a couple when I go to my game store. So I have just lots of varietals of paints, and also it just makes doing stuff like this on live stream a bit easier, so I don't have to explain ratios and stuff like that. Because I never am good. I wasn't good at math in school, so ratios I'm always like, I don't know what percentage this is. I don't like explaining it as much. So we're just kind of getting a couple different different tones laid out here. We're going to definitely be bringing all these out in a bit. I'm just looking to see. Looks like that part's almost metallic on his chest. And it looks like he has like a cream colored. So we're going to get Dusty Skull from Army Painter, that's the name of the brand, and add kind of a lighter tone to the kind of white parts of the model, which I guess makes sense. Let's thin that down a bit more. Add a couple more layers to bring this all the way up. With each passing layer, it does just bring up the brightness, and you're definitely want this dry. If you notice I had a little bit of overspill there, that's fine. I can clean that up. Not the end of the world. I think we are going to use a bit of dark gray. Let's use dark neutral gray. Build up from there from Pro. I always sound like I'm saying my editing software always thinks I'm saying Pro Krill, like I'm really in favor of krills. And we're gonna add that to some elements of Tuck. I'm gonna really kind of thin this down. Start applying this to the backpack area. And since we're doing this so thin, that kind of white undertone is coming through and giving us kind of a point where the highlights will be, and really kind of a natural looking metallic look just because of the lighting and the shading, which is a fun little easy way, once we add kind of a secondary color, it would kind of read it as metal, this easy non-metallic metal right there. I'm not sure about the gliders. I like, honestly, I think they're over there, but I do like the gliders just in terms of the sculpts. In terms of play, I think they're really good as well. I think they're just going to take a bit to finagle them. I think for their point cost, they can slot into any army, which is pretty nice. But Tuck is pretty cool. He is definitely the star of the box, I would say. The community will figure out ways to put them in the army. I mean, especially in contemporary format, just having range itself is great to have. And a 4-man range squad that can deploy anywhere, I think there's some definite use there. You just got to be patient with them and bring them out at the right moments. If you notice you ever put the paint on too thick, you can definitely take the brush and kind of grab a bit of that excess paint and just spread it around. It definitely helps. This is why it just helps having thin paint. You have a lot more room to work with. It does take a bit longer. You have to be kind of aware of that, but it just makes your application so much more inherently smooth. Let's see what color. I'm liking how this is shaping up so far. Kind of glad I didn't go with metallics, just trying something different. I've been working on non-metallics. It's definitely a different animal. You know, I'm not looking for any smooth or crazy blends here, but I kind of wanted like that old-timey pulp look to it. You know, kind of. I didn't want it to shine and sheen too much. Kind of just look like something you'd see from like an old Superman comic book or something. The question is what color I'm going to make the eyes. Probably white. But we'll see. Maybe I'll add a little bit of blue to them. Right now it doesn't really look like much. This is just because you kind of can see my process. I'm kind of putting colors down and seeing if I like them, where they are. And then as I kind of go through, I touch them up or we'll start shifting them and fill in any areas I also missed. Just adding a second layer to this fur. It was a little bit darker, so I wanted just to buff it up just a bit brighter. When I buff up the fur with the second layer, I'm not paying as much attention to kind of the areas that I want to appear darker. Like underneath the tail, it's not going to get as much on the second layer compared to the top of the tail. One thing that always trips me up is underneath the chin. Definitely make sure you get that area, as that's always a key focal point, but it's a place where paint will collect or you can miss easily. One thing I love about the boards, you don't have to worry about skin tones. Painting fur is so much easier than painting skin. There's a little harness thing here painted in. And add another layer of this dusty skull. If you wanted to paint this shirt really easily, you could definitely use a speed paint, like pallid bone, thin down a bit in this area, I think it would come off really clean and settle into these recesses nice and simple. Main reason I don't do as much speed paints is I kind of run out. I had a big collection of the original run. I kind of used all those, and I haven't yet invested too much in their new line. Now I'm using a stippling motion right here just to add some inherent kind of fluff to that outer fur on the jacket. Let's see if I can just tone this up just a bit. There we go. Now I'm just kind of seeing what I want to do. I'm going to add an extra layer jacket, make sure I didn't miss anything, and then clean up any mistakes I made. We're going to add this to the little band around the head. Actually, let's use a different color. What color is it? Let's take this brown and mix it with black. Just to kind of add a little bit of separation here. Or I can just use black brown, which I also have. Both would work fine. Always shake up your paints really good. It's a bit tricky here. And I'm just going to add that to that other area. I kind of like this black-brown color a bit more. We are going to fill in spots I just completely overlooked on the head. Right now it does look kind of muddy. It's just because we worked with a lot of dark, neutral tones. I'm really looking forward to starting to buff this guy up. And I'm going to use a bit of that drab brown I pulled earlier, and I'm going to thinly apply that over the wings. Just because I wanted to see how it would work with a brighter color. You notice I'm flowing with the kind of the flow and the texture of the little wing cape thing here. This is just a great way to make sure you fill in all the ha 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 ha, Heroscape. Someone wins the joke award today. Yeah, he is a little nuts. And there we go. There we go. That reads a lot better to me now. Sometimes I'm working on things, I'm like, why can I not parse this out? And it's just because I haven't laid down the right color yet. Now it kind of connects to my brain. Now I have a bit of oversplash on the green areas. Let's reapply that. Bit brighter. And yep, just doing good. How long have we been doing this for? 38 minutes. Oh yeah, we're cooking. We are cooking here. I couldn't tell if I've been doing this for 10 minutes or 2 hours. So that's a sign that you're enjoying your paint job. If you kind of lose track of time. I'm just going around and being extra, getting all these little details. When you paint, you typically want to focus on the most visible things. My paint work is usually kind of looked at a lot closer, so I try to go through and spend a little extra time on things that would normally just not bother with, like the undersides and all that stuff. But doing so never hurts. It really does make your model look cleaner. But I'm definitely always spending less time here than on here on top. Okay, let's see. So we're waiting for these wings to dry here, and this will come alive with some wash. Let's see if we can start building up this gray just a bit. I'm gonna get this basalt gray from Vallejo, which is a nice, just brighter gray with a hint of blue in it. And I'm just gonna start bringing in some of these highlights on this. Sketch those in. I'm using the edge of my brush just to trace these ridges. just using a lot of small strokes to kind of add a little bit of texture to this thing. Now, if you want, you could just dry brush this and kind of get a very similar effect. I'm just kind of building this out in my head here. Now I'm kind of using just a dry brush motion over here. And just adding a bit of texture. Excited to see this homie soon. One of my little. Oh yes, Tuck is a. Well, first off, welcome to the stream, Salam. It was great having you here, and oh yeah, that's great. Excited to see new people kind of start picking this up. It seems like everyone has their own preference. Some people like kind of the grim dark of the, the Eisenex. Some people like the classic stuff, and some people just like cutesy woodland animals with guns and parachutes. It's just all. Heroscape's got something for everyone. I'm glad they picked it up and kind of felt drawn to this here. And I'm just adding some remedial highlights to this, really kind of just having fun with it. Don't do anything too sweaty. But it's coming along. I really like the subtle texture. Once we move to a brighter color, I think it'll really start showing through. Says people got invested in thing. Yeah, it is. It's really fun. I've got one of my friends into this recently, and he's just all like, "Man, I love." He likes painting the Dryans a lot. Like he just likes how they really respond well to speed paint, because I've been kind of teaching him how to paint as well. And the Dryans are all very speed paint friendly. All right, next I'm just going to add a bit of blue tone to this. Using some gravestone blue from Tooth and Coats. I like their paint because it's very thin and works good with kind of building up layers. All right. I mix that with a tiny bit of that gray we're using. And we're using the edge of our brush. Here. For here in this part, we're using a stippling motion just to kind of blend these colors together a bit. Dryans are fun for crazy textures. Yeah, Yawashia, the Rakchot, even the familiars, they are really, really fun. Just like dry brushing and quick and easy paints, which I appreciate. It's honestly been so cool seeing the community kind of embrace painting as it with a badge of honor. I think, maybe I may be biased, but I think Heroscape has a strong innocence and lack of pretense. Kind of when it comes to people who start painting, It's just because traditionally they're not painters. You know, they're not hobbyists. They're people who really like playing games. So seeing so many people kind of just overcome their fear and just start kind of embracing the hobby has been really cool to see on the outset. That's why I call myself the Roguescaper, because originally it was kind of a crazy idea to be the guy who would like to paint repainted miniatures. So I was kind of an outsider in that regard. Washi was very fun. Yeah, it's a fun paint job. There's a lot you can do that, or you can do just a very simple kind of speed paint. I practice a lot of wet blending on a washi, just to kind of bring out those curves and all that. That's I actually did that for the video Tales of Ahala did for that stop motion short. Did a lot of kind of fun techniques on Iwashia. I don't know, this guy was so little, I felt like I'd give him something extra to fill the time. But honestly, I'm really liking how this is turning out. I'm liking this blue. We're adding just an extra layer of edge highlights here to really just kind of do it. Again, like I said, I'm not doing this elaborate non-metallic scheme, but I've been having fun kind of practice around with it, and it's really not hard. If you want to do something simple just for some progression. We're going to darken this all down a bit and blend it with some washes. But I wanted to just get some stuff on here. We are going to thin down my paint, and we are going to blend this feather like this. So you take that previous kind of mid-tone and thin it down, and spread it around like this after you kind of penciled it in your highlights. Yeah, the community was a bit miffed at first when the original figures were announced not to be painted. I think we live in the good time right now, where people like me have the option to get these miniatures a bit cheaper and put my own spin on it. Whereas I'm of no pretense to assume that everyone wants to paint. So those people have the option as well. But I think it's opened a door for people to we have the mini Mondays now here on this channel just to kind of celebrate that fact, give you a bit of instruction, but really it's just a place to kind of share our commonality for learning to paint these awesome little guys. They'll say the sculptors for these models, even the new stuff, are all top notch. Props to whoever designed those, because these are really fun models. That's really the way I love painting them. I just really get to kind of engage with these models on a, like, almost, I want to say a personal level, but I feel kind of like I get to see all the little stuff that they have in here. Okay. Eager to see my take on the newest scenario option regarding painting. Hey, all I'm saying is I have a couple extra Deathwalkers lying around, so maybe I'll be making a video on how to apply some cool rust effects to your miniature. It's definitely in my brain for sure. All right, we're gonna get some bold titanium white and just add couple elements here. We're gonna take this blue and mix it in so it's almost like this white gray. We're going to use this very delicately. Just catching some of the raised highlights. I plan on toning this down a bit with some washes. When you're using your brightest highlight, you really want to just be minimal with that. This album. Let's go! Yeah, I was excited to see it. I like when we have custom elements in the game. Although now I am just hoping for official Rust Walkers to be released. So I think he has a multi-tiered tail. So what we're going to do is we're going to get this bright neutral gray for the tail. And we are going to thin this down so it flows. And don't want to flow too much. Okay. Set it down a bit too much, but that's fine. Fix that. And apply this here. Then we're going to take that warm brown we were using. And take this and just bring them together like this. I think my paint's a bit too wet for this, honestly. This is a technique called wet blending. And we are blending these colors together. I think I had too much water, so I'll have to fix that. Notice how it's kind of bridging these colors and making that transition a bit more smooth. Kind of just bring it back and forth like so, to the point where it kind of gets to a point where you like. We'll wait for this to dry, and I might bring in just a couple thin layers to too much water to the white. A bit more brown to offset that. And that way it looks like a bit more of a natural transition. And I knew I was just technically cheating, but the moment I knew about them, I was looking forward to seeing what you would do paint-wise. Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. I'm hoping the community maybe creates some fun custom models for them to be to print for some of the other models. But if not, I got tons of extra Soulworks on around, and I definitely plan on making a video on how to do Rust effects. Which coincidentally has been on my kind of idea list for a while. But I never really had it. I was going to maybe do it with the Eisenach, but when I painted the Eisenach, I was like, oh wait, I'm out of them. I didn't film this part after I had the idea. Taking this bright neutral gray we had on the palette and just bringing up some of these button areas, so when we blend them down, don't really catch. Again, this is just me being a bit extra. You, of course, can just use metallics on this, and it'll probably look even better. I think I have three or four Deathwalker 8000s just lying around, all without bases too, just because I've stripped them. Because I think the most rare part of a Deathwalker is its base. So I'm happy to bring some use to those things. And we're just brightening up that thing. I think, oh, let's get, all right, so we get some satin black, which I like using for like noses and claws and the like, and just apply that to the toesies. Good thing about this being so small is you can kind of just use one size brush mostly for the whole thing. And we're just going to trace out those individual toes. And the nose. The eyes, we're going to add a bit of stuff to the eyes. And just clean up some stuff on the mask here. And I'm just going to blend this down. When you work with kind of glazing and blending, it's just a lot of back and forth, so you kind of find that you've reached a kind of a point where you're happy with it. So you notice we're starting to get a bit of a metallic sheen on this gun here. Kind of starting to read as metal. It's always good to have some extra figures lying around. Never know when you might need to test out some inks. Oh, I've been testing. Yeah, that's for sure. I'm almost confident enough to use it. I've been liking using them with spray painting. Airbrushing more than brush control, but I think there's definitely some fun usage for them. I have to do a lot more research into it though. Alright, because you've been asking. I'm going to use a bit of this papyrus ink here, and let's see how this looks on the wingspan. Thin this down and add a bit of a thin glaze over this, which is what I've read a great way to use inks. I'm just going to add this to the bottom to add a bit of shading to it. No, I love inks. I just don't feel fully confident in their usage yet. But that adds a nice little subtle shadow to those wingspans, which I'm happy with. Okay, let me look up a picture of real life squirrels. See if I'm missing any important details. Always it helps to have a reference picture for lighting and textures. So they typically have a two-toned face, not always. But he has that light. I'm just going to keep him solid brown, keep him simple. Okay, what time are we at here? I think we might be ready to apply wash. Let's add just to brighten up these pants a bit before we do so. And I had a fun chance to promote the game in January by giving away my extra Orms return pieces to anyone who played the game on my table. I have a couple extra. I keep on hand for new people that like to get into the game. It's like the cheapest classic set to get, and you get some really cool, big, fun figures to throw in. So many. It's always included those terrain dumps on eBay. Never get away from the big five in all my buys. Yeah. My favorite part, and as a wiki writer, you'll know this, is that all we know about Orm is that he returned. Is one of my favorite favorite lines just added to the Heroscape kind of database. And oh yeah, Bit of Harvest says, yeah, nice. Yeah, I'm liking the inks. I think I'm about 40% there from fully knowing how to use them. I used a bit on my a bit of yellow to blend it in on my Eisenach here, my Iron Lich, just to kind of make these yellows pop a bit. And I was really happy with how that turned out. Somehow Orm returned, yeah. It's just, I would love Orm to be a playable character at one point. Although, Jeremy probably knows this, or some probably knows this, is that it's, Orm is just Norse for dragon. So it might just be referring to Charos in that set, but no one knows. Doing the alcohol inks. Yeah, I didn't have a chance to pick any up, but they seem like really, really thin when they're applied, which is nice. I definitely want to try more ink work, and also just been wanting to try oils. I'm gonna add those to my painting repertoire. I took that army green and mixed it with a bit of that darker color. And I'm just kind of blending those highlights I sketched in. Okay, let's see what we want to do here. All right, let's kind of put a wash on and close it up for the night. We are going to use a mixture of black and brown wash, I think, to really bring this out. The question is, do I want to do highlights before wash? I'll probably do it afterwards because I think they're going to be really impactful. So first off, let us kind of get these lenses going here. If I can find the appropriate paints. All right, so we're going to get some voice shield blue. We're going to thin this down a whole lot, so it flows almost like speed paint or to glaze consistency. Okay, focus. There we go. The water, glaze medium into this. Put that in our white lenses. It's too thin. up our paint just because it's being a bit weird. Let's try a different method. I'm going to just use some plasma coil glow from Army Painter. It just comes out kind of pretty thin, which is nice. My Void Shield blue is a bit old, so I think it's just not responding to water properly. And just put those in the lenses there. There you go. Nice and easy. And once that dries, you can just add a bit of white in the center to brighten it up. It's nice and easy lenses right there. Tighten up a couple details. These ears, which I completely forgot to do. Okay, now let's get some fur brown, appropriately named brown, which is kind of a orange or reddish brown almost. It's very ruddy. That down, and we're going to add some remedial highlights to our friend Tuck here, just to kind of start making this pop out a bit more. I'm chasing the cheekbones, the tips of the ears, the brows, just kind of brushing that on. Kind of making this brighter, and more noticeable bits. I'm just going to dry brushing the hands. Tail especially. It's more of a wet brush, but kind of the same principle. What paint colors are used for traditional Morrow figures? And was thinking of doing a Dragoon Morrow paint job. Ooh, I like the idea. So for Morrow figures, you want to get this nice off-color kind of yellow bone. So I typically use skeleton bone from Army Painter, as well as white cap beige and some demonic yellow. It's a color recommended to me by a fellow fellow painter friend of mine named Blast Shark, and then I mix all those depending on kind of the variety of Morrow, because there is a bit of range. Things in later releases were a bit more brighter, so it makes it a bit more whiter. But older stuff had kind of a bit of more yellow tone to it. So it's all personal preference. Even in the classic line, there wasn't a consistent way for the Morrows to look. And then for the red tone, I actually, only time I've been experimenting with lots of different things. Most part is you really want the flow of the wash or the thing on it to be very, very high, so it just settles in the recesses. And as soon as you apply it before it dries, you want to get like a towel or a makeup brush and dab it out so it doesn't get on the raised surfaces. And you may need to go through and just kind of touch up afterwards, but that's typically what I do. There we go. I'm liking this tone for the fur. Now that way makes them stand out a bit more. So like I said, once we kind of get these colors going, I'm able to kind of see what I need to do to buff them up. I'm gonna mix a bit of this drap brown with this. Just should mix a bit of this white in with this brown. Just for some features we want to be noticed. Focus. There you go. Let's get back in. Sometimes I focus too much on painting, and I realize, oh wait, I'm not even in camera. All right, let's add some ivory. They're not a Merilith. Fun lore trivia. The Morrow exists due to Craig, Rob, and Steven wanting to create a unique twist on the skeleton enemy trope for the first master set. Huh, that's really fascinating. And ironically, we still don't have true skeletons. But maybe that's why. Honestly, I'm excited that the Revenant Acolytes fill that niche. For sure, once Halloween comes around, I like to play as many spooky people as possible. I also suspect that the Morrow were chosen because they can be kind of made pretty easy. They all don't have like extra bits on them, but they all look really cool. I think classically they used an oil wash, which is why I'm wanting to start experimenting with that. I'm using ivory, by the way, and I'm just bringing up some highlights on this jacket here. Just use a small kind of straight motion, kind of get some that fur texture going. Really hope that Renegade comes out with more Morrow figures. Me too. I'm fine with them taking a little bit of a backseat for a little bit, just because they had a whole master set. But there's a whole list of things I would love to see Morrows covered. My next goal is for a Morrows, because I think they're a bit of gene splicers, is to kind of gene splice some Kyrie I would love a flying Morrow squad. I think that would be really cool. Maybe that worked with some other bonding synergies like the War Witches or Overlords or something. That's my desire right there. Or I think pretty much anything. I hope they kind of start experimenting with more of these Dryans. Imagine like like a whole squad of like little skeleton or like zombified alien skeleton Anshus would be cool. I take that as well. Sorry if you hear my kids are getting ready for bed here. I think someone just fell downstairs. Like that Burbachna was very good. That's his name. He's a bit tricky to use. I think he's more of a pirate than a Morrow at his core. And sorry about that, everybody. I got 3 kids under 5. More small beasts also? Yeah. Let's get those small beasts coming in. Alright, let's add a bit of white. Move to a smaller brush just for the eyes. A second here, I forgot these little clips. The organisms are wild, one of the drones, or forced to use traditional weaponry. Yeah, that is true. That's just because they are not safety trained. They don't have their OSHA certification. Right, we're going to wait for this to dry. And apply a little bit of wash, and we'll call it for tonight. You know, I keep on saying that. I think I like Bach. I like that he was included. Like, they didn't have to include it, but I'm glad that he's there. And ultimately, at the end of the day, even a Morrow that doesn't work with other Morrow is better than no Morrow. And I'm sure Renegade has plans. Well, I'm not sure. I'm highly certain that Renegade will bring some more Morrow in the future. Just because, I mean, that's an instant hit right there. Like, who doesn't love of the Morrow? But first, we got to get through all this new stuff first. I'm excited. I'm excited for commons. That's going to be a whole different kind of realm for painting. Renegade did a really good job of making the commons really well designed in terms of aesthetics, and their visual presence is really kind of it's, you know, you compare the Revenant Acolytes to Miserex. There's just, you can paint a lot of them easier using kind of fast painting techniques, so you don't have to spend so much time on all those small details. Okay, let's just get a brighter color here. Let's get some, and the same with like the crabs, the tanukis, they all will be completed really fast. So if you have to paint 4 squads of those things, it's not your it's not your whole life that's been consumed getting those guys done, which I appreciate. Like, I love painting, but I also, you know, I have other things I want to paint. So I appreciate the simplicity and the attention to small little details. Like I saw the pre-painted Revenant Acolytes, and I was really impressed. I thought, did someone pro paint those? Just because they really came out so clean. Just add a bit of highlights to this jacket area. Kind of just having fun with it now. though. The new crab figures are translucent for the painted figures. They don't force you to buy them painted. Yeah, it is a bit of a bummer that the unpainted aren't translucent, but I'm sure there'll be a good trade market open for people who want a lot of tanukis and don't want as many crabs. So definitely maybe keep an eye out for that. There's definitely some fun handmade lava effects you could do as well. Painting your own glowing lava is a really fun thing and not too hard to do. So I definitely plan to experiment with that and do some tutorials there. Because I think honestly you can make the lava crabs even cooler if you paint them black and add some glowing lava, really make them pop. Okay. Let's get some lighter color here. Let's go to the appropriate named light umber for this dark umber. Pro Acryl. If you have different plans on depicting lava from on the map, how many copies of a really good common squad is too much? So it kind of depends on what level you're playing at. If you're playing at a competitive level compared to just at your own home personal games, there's definitely I think a difference in that. Typically, the kind of rule of thumb is that you want about 12 of a figure in an army for maximum effectiveness. So if a figure has 4 units in it, then you want, 3 squads. 3 squad, then you want 3 units, then you want 4 squads, and if it's a 2 unit, you want like 6 squads, 5 to 6 squads. That's not a hard rule. Some things want more, and some things you don't need as much of, like the old Sentinels. You could get by with honestly 1 or 2 in your army, and they'd still do pretty good. Whereas like Vipers and Drones, you want as much as the format will allow to really use them well. So I honestly haven't settled on a good point for these new units. It kind of depends on how you want to use them in your army. You could spam, a bunch of lava crabs for your home games, and just have fun terraforming the map, which I think is their biggest appeal. And you could run a bunch of tricksters, or you could just have a couple and slot them into an army. I really appreciate how they have really great army building potential, but I think minimum 2, and then let your let your heart and your wallet decide from there. Rule of thumb is 3 for 4, 4 for 3, but you're not a mechanics master. The squad number, yeah, it's all dependent on squad, and formats really do dictate a lot of that. If it's like a kind of free for all format and there's no limits, then you want to get as many of a unit as possible, typically in an army, while still covering some kind of points for potential problems. I'm taking a bit of this bone here and mixing it with this lit umber just to buff up. I started talking about the new units and didn't even realize I wasn't explaining what I was doing. Just catching the various lights and details on this. Painting leather is one of my favorite things to do, just because it's so textured. I do want to add a bit of tone to this, but maybe we'll do that shading here. There we go. We're getting there. See, this thing would come alive with the details. Now last, we're gonna close off the night with a nice shade, and then you can go back through afterwards and add in the very fine details and the highlights, and kind of keep on working on this. But at this point, your model is almost done. Just make sure I didn't miss anything important. Maybe add just a bit more brown to the face because I missed a whole area. Once I put the shading on, I'll add the whites to the eyes as well. And I'm just kind of blending in this fur with the two tones we used. So for this guy, I want kind of a drab brown gray to him. So let's find our washes. We're gonna mix black and brown together, or a strong tone if you have Army Painter. Unfortunately, I ran out of that before I started filming, so I'm gonna make my own. If I can find where I put them at. So we got our black wash here. And we got our brown wash, both from Pro Acryl. And you typically don't want to put these on your wet palette, but it's not the end of the world if you do. I don't have my my dry palette nearby. And I'm gonna just kind of mix them in like that. We're going to switch to a more kind of large-headed brush like this. Just put a bit of water in. Every wash has its own kind of thickness to it. And I'll let this kind of fill in all these details. I don't want to go in and paint individually. If you pulls, you want to definitely use the tip of your brush and spread that around. And we're just filling all these awesome details in with a wash. After this dries, it does take a while to dry. I'm going to kind of layer back up some of the colors I want to be noticed so it doesn't appear so muddy. You definitely just want to watch out for pulling. Always do remember that wash dries brighter than it is applied. So you don't want to overwork it too much to the point where it gets kind of what's called coffee stained and it gets all smudgy and gross. The boards are all going to just come alive with washes. So that's pretty much for all of them. I'd highly recommend using it. Just because they'll have all these small little details that you want to bring out. Course washes typically do darken it, but that's about it. Last thing we'll do is just add some leather brown to the base, just to kind of give this a look of being all finished up. Okay, I'm going to do that behind the toesies a bit later. This is just so I can say it looks pretty good. Alright, so that's pretty much how I go about painting. For the most part, Tuck Harrigan, you can use kind of any or all of these steps, in your process. Today we really focused a lot on building up colors, as well as a bit of intermediary non-metallics. We worked on shading and just brush control and thinning your paints. So these are all great techniques to have in your painting journey. This guy is part of the upcoming wave that is set to release in April. So definitely, if you're intrigued by this little guy, be sure to check Renegade's website to pick one up for your own. You can pick it up unpainted and follow along with me, or pre-painted if you're just wanting to dive into the game. For the most part, I think we're good for today. I will post pictures online of this guy when he's all totally finished. But I hope you all enjoy the stream. Definitely keep on scaping out. Check out the new scenario that just released on Renegade's website as well. And you all have a great rest of your day. Keep scaping.